Thanks for tuning in to Black Twitter Talk, where we celebrate diversity, progression, innovation in music, art, culture, and politics through the lens of Black Twitter. I am your host, Angie Skates, and you can find me on Twitter at Angie_Skates.
Hey guys, I'm your co-host, Kelly Skates, and you can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at The Urban Gypsy LA.
Today we are talking Azealia Banks, Stay Woke, BET, and Deborah Lee, and much more. If you want to join the conversation, hashtag Black Twitter Talk, hashtag BTT, or add us. Okay, so let's get right into it. Azealia Banks.
Girl.
Okay, girl. Okay, so for those of you that don't know who Azealia Banks is, don't front on her. Y'all know who she is. She's a 23-year-old avant-garde rapper from Brooklyn. And she self-admittedly suffers from bipolar disorder. Her tweets are chaotic and bipolar, just like her. And she was recently suspended because of a Twitter tirade that was apparently really racist against some guy, Zayn Malik. I don't really know who that is. Who's Zayn, girl? Who is Zayn Malik?
Zayn Malik is a singer from the group One Direction, which is like a really popular group.
A boy band.
A boy band, yeah.
Okay.
So the whole beef started when Azealia Banks called him out and basically accused him of stealing some of her concepts from her videos. But she was being more playful because she ends it and says, "I'm not mad about this though. Zayn is a cutie pie." He is kind of cute. I'm not gonna front. But Zayn responds and says, "No lies, I see you reaching, but I don't care." And also he says, "My ats are too good for you."
Okay.
So he subtweet her, throwing some shade, and
I can
then
see how that could piss somebody off.
yeah, but she went completely left field and started spitting all these racial slurs, and it was kind of nasty. I can't even have her back on this one.
Yeah, after reading some of the tweets, there's one on the screen now. I don't even feel comfortable reading it on air. I'm just not gonna read it. But yeah,
it was like back to back to back to back.
It was cringeworthy.
Like
it was really terrible.
And then apparently after that, you guys, she went to Snapchat and continued her rant on Snapchat.
Ooh, she snapped on Snapchat.
She did the Snapchat, and so my timeline was saying that, you know what, it looks like she's having a mental break. Like visually they saw it.
And to not make light of mental illness, it's a real thing. And I think that especially in the Black community, it's something that goes largely ignored. It's not taken serious, and we really need to readjust how we evaluate, how we look at, how we treat ourselves and other people that suffer from mental illnesses.
Yeah, I did see some stats. They were a little bit, current. I don't know what the current stats are, but the last time I saw it was about 20% of African Americans suffer from a mental disorder. But even the more educated you are, the less likely you are to seek treatment.
Or treat it with church, or just
self-medication, So it's a lot of it that goes on, but we don't address it. And then with the implementation of social media so heavily,
extension of who we are, and there's an epidemic of cyberbullying.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's ridiculous. I remember R&B artist Kehlani, right?
Yes.
She recently was hospitalized after a suicide attempt.
Yes, and it all started with social media beef. She was in a relationship with somebody, and then I guess she started maybe talking to a guy she was previously in a relationship with.
Which ain't none of your business anyway.
Number one.
Okay.
But so she was in a relationship with basketball player Kyrie Irving. Excuse me if I butchered your name, but I'm not into sports.
No,
I'm not
don't do ball players. Sorry.
And then she used to date a guy from Party Next Door. And so he posted a picture, so it looked like she was cheating. So social media went crazy, calling her all types of hoe and just bashing her.
Having no idea about that girl's business.
Yes. So then she ends up posting the picture on Instagram saying that she basically attempted suicide and just basically venting about the situation, which, should she have done that? Yes or no? I mean, who cares? But the response after that picture was even worse than the initial bashing. People were making more fun of the fact that she almost committed suicide.
And it's nothing to poke fun at. I remember recently there were a string of suicides from successful Black women that work in the industry. And
Yeah, the co-owner from Miss Jessie's, another singer-songwriter named Simone Battle, who I actually went to school with, who had a very good fan base, large
Huge
support.
Following.
Yeah.
Was working.
Yeah.
So it's a real thing, and I think we need to learn how to have more compassion for it, and to treat it with a little bit more sensitivity.
Yeah, because I think people think like, oh, you guys are celebrities, so we can just say whatever we want, but we're all human, and that one tweet or comment that you might leave on someone's post can push them over the edge.
Absolutely. And I don't agree with Azealia Banks at all on this one. And I'm not saying that mental illness excuses her action, but you know, the things that were said about Azealia were just as ugly and as nasty as the things that she wrote, and that's not the way to go about it. We can't deny that Azealia is extremely talented. We can't deny that I think she's underrated. I think she's ahead of her time. I think musically she is onto something. She's like borderline genius in my opinion.
She definitely is, and I think that's the undertone of a lot of things. She knows she's underrated. She knows she's a beast. We have a tweet from Julesy where she says,
"Hey Julesy,
hey girl, hey." She says, "Amused by people who justify Kanye by saying he's a genius and creative, and we just don't get it. Then can't the same defense be given to Azealia?" I think Julesy has a point.
You do.
I do.
Okay, first off, no, Kanye is not self-admittedly crazy. He's never come out in public and said, "I'm crazy, y'all." Musically, his credits are a lot longer and stronger. He's been in the industry a lot longer than Azealia has, so his reach is a lot wider, which I feel gives him more room to play up the antics and do things like that. No, how are we putting Azealia and Kanye on the same level? Explain that to me.
If we're going to compare careers, definitely we can't put them on the same level. Azalea's brand spanking new, which is why what she's doing is like butchering her career. But I think if social media was around during the beginning of Kanye's career, or him just even being in the studio trying to get it, who knows what he would have said.
That's true. Do you remember that one award show where
Which one?
I don't know. It was like the MTV Awards, like a long time ago, where they pulled the plug on him because he was like, Bush hates black people. I think it was like in the wake of Katrina.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't matter how many songs he has out. And even though he hasn't said he has any type of mental disorder, if we listen to some of his interviews, I think he might be a little bit crazy.
Just a little, and not to mention his family. Anyway, that's a whole nother show. Azealia apologizes, ultimately. She was canceled from a huge concert in the UK, and her Twitter account was deactivated, though. Like, how many racists are on Twitter? I can think of one really big orange racist who still has his active Twitter account. Like, Donald Trump's ass is still on Twitter. Why?
He's on Twitter, and he's a presidential candidate, and he says some very out-the-box stuff, too. That's very true.
I guess this reminds us that freedom of speech is for whites only.
In certain spaces,
yeah. And, speaking of white spaces, Twitter recently announced their latest appointment to the board of directors. BET's own CEO, Deborah Lee.
Go Debbie.
Go Debbie.
Like, that's my homegirl.
I know. We know her. No, we don't. But I think her appointment to the Twitter board of directors says a lot more than just diversity. I feel like it foreshadows Twitter's future, which is Black Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter is predominantly the users are Black, and we've used it in so many avenues. We continue to. I think the current state of Twitter is Black Twitter for the most part.
Journalists use it, activists use it. We use it to connect communities. We use it to expose or to bring light to stories that are often ignored or buried by mainstream media or other social media platforms.
Yeah.
It's really important.
Yeah, and then the whole idea of diversity, I feel like just in Hollywood in general, we've seen the importance of diversity and how it will take your network, your television show, everything to the next level. YouTube even did an event recently called YouTube Black, where they invited a lot of the YouTube Black YouTube content creators and put on a huge event. Mara Brock-Akil was there, Nate Parker, Russell Simmons, Wanda Sykes. A lot of these people came and talked to them. And when I saw it, I'm like, yo, it looked amazing. It's all these young Black people who are out here, a lot of them involved in Black Twitter too, because all these social media platforms cross. It just shows you like we have a lot we want to say and that we can contribute to this conversation.
We are more than capable of contributing to the conversation. And I think that we're going to see more original and captivating content, short form content across the Twitter platform with Deborah Lee's recent appointment, and I'm excited about it.
I'm excited too. I want to see what she has up her sleeve. I think it's just going to open up more doors for us to do more things.
Yeah. Lee's role could be quintessential to Twitter's shift from technology to being a media company. And recently, BET just aired a documentary.
Oh, yes, the documentary Stay Woke BET.
Have y'all seen it?
I saw it. It just came out though, so if you haven't seen it, don't feel bad.
Yeah, you need to watch it. It's definitely necessary.
Yeah, it chronicles the Black Lives Matter movement, and it gives you like first person accounts from everybody involved, from the local activists, the protesters, scholars. Like if you ever wanted to know who was behind the Black Lives Matter movement and pushing it forward, they kind of shed a light on that.
Absolutely. The documentary was directed by Lawrence Grant, who also worked on the Black Panthers Vanguard of the Revolution documentary, which was
a good
one. And it was executive produced by Jesse Williams.
Hi, Jesse.
Hi, Jesse. Jesse's the cutie pie from Grey's Anatomy. I have a crush on Jesse.
Cute.
Oh my god. Anyway.
You had a moment.
Yeah. I like Jesse and his Black wife.
But okay. Oh my gosh. So he tweets about the show or the documentary. He says, "You cannot expect a 42-minute documentary on corporate television to fully encapsulate and satisfy you, her, and him, and them. But you better want it to try. Stay woke."
BET, stay woke, y'all.
Yes.
I think Black Twitter's reaction to it was a lot of mixed emotions because, like Jesse said, it's a 42-minute documentary. There was no way that it was going to be able to give face to all of the countless people, the countless individuals that were there on the front lines protesting, that are there organizing, that are still there organizing to make sure that the movement evolves and keeps moving forward. But a lot of my favorite Twitter personalities and activists had some things to say about it. They were actually in the documentary too.
Yeah, one, Jonetta Elzie, she tweets, "I think the only thing I can take away from the Stay Woke BET tonight is that I'm glad we can tell our own stories." And just in general, the whole documentary, I think it just, if you don't know who the activists are now, because a lot of people will say, oh, we need another Martin Luther King. Oh, where's our Malcolm X? This documentary shows you who they are.
Who they are. I feel like with the extension of social media and our fed upness and our unwillingness to just sit passively by and take this BS, we have kind of seen an uprising of young activists. For example, DeRay McKesson. He started in this movement, and he's now one of the he's running to be mayor of Baltimore.
Yeah, he tweeted too. He says, "I'm still processing my thoughts regarding Stay Woke BET. In many ways, I think I'm still too close to it all."
Like, cause not even having been on the ground zero in St. Louis, like, I get fired up just watching that footage and just reliving. Like, what do you think?
They had some really quality footage of like being on the front line. It was, honestly, when I watched it, it took me back to that moment, that whole time frame, and it started with the Zimmerman acquittal. I remember that night, like, my heart was broke, you guys. I remember feeling so worthless, like, how do you even come to that verdict? And so what did I do? I went to Twitter. I'm not gonna lie. I went to Twitter and I saw that I was not the only one feeling that way. I really felt like I cried on Twitter that night with everybody else.
And I got held on Twitter that night. Like, you know,
it
was a sense of community.
Yes.
And
That night, I think that's when I officially joined Black Twitter.
I've been Black Twitter, but
well, that night it showed me that my voice was important and that I need to say what I feel, because shoot, I might not be here tomorrow. So why am I, pacifying certain things? Like, and then that night, didn't we go to Leimert Park that night?
Yes, we did. We went to go protest in Leimert Park for Trayvon Martin.
Yes, and that was one of those things because the media is portraying it a certain way.
Like there was looters and there's all this destruction and violence. Like, no.
No, and we went out there and we were able to see it, and I think it just continues to speak to the fact that we have to create our own story.
We are, like I said, we are extremely capable of creating our own stories, and I think the general consensus is that there is no one singular or easy way to address the systematic racism in this country or the injustices across our nation. And I think it is important that we do bring these conversations to light, however. And with Black Twitter, with Deborah Lee joining, with this documentary, with social media, giving birth to our new generation of leaders
and storytellers, is we're taking back ownership of our narrative. We're shaping and telling our own stories, and we are not asking for permission. Yes, it's really amazing.
I'm excited. I'm excited to be a part of Black Twitter. I'm excited to talk about, the things that are going on in Black Twitter.
I'm excited to invite people here so we can continue the conversation off of Twitter and talk about it more face to face.
Remember, hashtag Black Twitter Talk, hashtag BTT.
Yes.
You can @ us. I am Angie Skates, and I am on Twitter at Angie_Skates.
And I'm Kelly. You can find me at The Urban Gypsy LA.
Join us in the conversation next week. We look forward to seeing you soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye.